and good afternoon, everybody. Yes, I'm delighted to be here. Yeah, pretty new to all of this. So, like as Jane said, she's not an expert. Well, I'm definitely not an expert, but we do have a story to tell. So my Lions Club in Tullamore, we were the first to embark on a peatland conservation project. And so what I'll do is, firstly, I'll just give a little bit of background about what the Lions movement is about. Maybe some of you might be aware, but others maybe not. So I'll do that. And then I'll just take you through the journey we've been on. It has been very, very interesting. Our aspiration would be to get to a stage that Abbey Leaks is at, all the fantastic things they're doing. But so the Lions movement really is, we're part of a global organisation. There are 90 clubs in Ireland, about 2,000 members in total. We have a common goal, and that is we serve. So we are all volunteers, and we just want to serve our communities. So fundraising obviously is a large part of that. So most of what we've been doing in recent, up to I suppose a couple of years ago, would have before we got into the peatland things, and we still do it as well. It's really fundraising, helping. Like you probably be aware of like Christmas food appeals. Helping needy families with food parcels. We raise funds for childhood cancer research. My own club, for example, carried out a big fundraising project to help fundraise for a hospice facility in the Midlands. Clubs do spectacle recycling, bicycles, sewing machines that are recycled and sent out to the third world. So a lot of things. But we do have a sustainability agenda as well to protect and restore our environment, to help our communities. And that's really what happened with us. So we were challenged to come up with an interesting environmental project. And we decided, because we're surrounded by peatlands in the Midlands, we said, why not have a go at that? We didn't really know. We had more questions than answers, but we were inspired, and we wanted, I suppose, as well, we were hoping to do something that would deliver some tangible benefits to our community locally, and also perhaps something that we could repeat with and encourage other clubs to do as well. So that's what led us to Clonbale Moor, which is, and this is an area of privately owned peatland, so it's not like the bigger tracts of peatland that Bord na Móna are working on. This is just a good example of, it's about 12 hectares of peatland owned by one landowner, and that has lain idle for over 70 years. And because of that, and because it was drained back, during the Second World War for peat to, be sent up to Dublin and stuff like that. So it's emitting carbon, the biodiversity has been severely degraded, and it's just in decline. We were inspired by a project that happened down in County Clare in Shanachile, where a landowner, in collaboration with an ecologist, Barry O'Loughlin, had restored about a similar size project. So once we kind of understood the benefits, again, we were novices at this, but once we began to learn about the benefits, the carbon benefits, the biodiversity benefits, water regulation, once we learned that, and we understood then the steps involved, we thought we'd have a go. But it was still a big challenge. So we obviously, firstly, we had to find a landowner, and we were very fortunate that the Grennan family from Rath in the centre of County Offaly, they agreed to collaborate with us, and they made their area of Clonbale more available. And we then had to bring in the experts because we didn't have the expertise. So Blackthorn Ecology, George Smith, came on board, and he carried out our feasibility study, and he obviously brought in hydrologists. So Francis Mackin from RPS worked with George, and they, by the end of 2023, we had a very detailed, and as Gary said, we really wanted, we needed a scientific approach. We needed to understand exactly what could happen. We were, to fund the feasibility study, we were very fortunate that the Peatland Community Engagement Scheme through National Parks and Wildlife, helped us with the funding for that. And we got our plan. So we had, much like the maps Gary had, we knew exactly by the end of 2023 what we needed to do, where we needed to build the peat dams, build the peat bunds, put in some weirs. We had a lot of invasive rhododendron as well. There's woodland along the northern and eastern boundaries of the site. So we had a lot of rhododendron to be removed. But we knew what we needed to do. We just needed the money. And again, we weren't sure. There are lots of schemes out there. And so, but the first one that kind of caught our attention early in 2024 was a new scheme, the Community Climate Action Fund, being administered by through the Department as well of the Environment, but being administered by the local authorities. It was a competitive process. You had to kind of make your best case for your particular project. But based on the knowledge that we had gained and all the information we had in the feasibility study, we were able to put a good, strong application in, and we were delighted to get 100% of the funding we needed. Now, again, we were fortunate with Clonbailmore over this, in the 70 years since it was drained, it had been left alone. So, a light touch approach was what was recommended rather than a more intensive approach. Obviously, the funding wasn't as high as it could have been, but we still needed like about €30,000 to get going. So yeah, we were thrilled to get that. And as part of that process, we had to select a contractor, so we did all that. We went out to the market, we issued a request for quotations and to various contractors, and Gorman Earthworks, who have also done a lot of work for Gary and Abbey Leaks. They were, by far, I think, based on their references and their pricing proposal and everything, and just the passion they brought to it, we had no hesitation selecting them, and they did a fantastic job. And that's Brian in the centre there, and George actually. During, it was actually this time last year, they were out there for about 6 weeks doing their thing, and we were just blown away. Again, like I think in common with what Gary said, the speed at which the change happened, I personally hadn't seen it before. So if you look at the top, at the drone shot looking straight down on the surface, it was quite dry around September. It had been a very dry month, but within weeks, and as soon as they were just moving off, about 6 weeks later, the water had begun to gather on the surface, and by January there was extensive rewetting, and so we were just blown away. And we're hopeful now. It's beginning to recover. We'd love to see it get back to active raised bog. We hope to see maybe species like the curlew returning. They've been gone a long time, but that's really our hope. We also would love, in the future, to maybe open it up to the public as well. And the landowner in this instance is quite keen to do that. As it's, you can see through Abbey Leaks, the project there, the fantastic spaces for recreation, for climate education, or even just for people to reconnect with nature. So we have to plan all of that and do it in a sensitive way, obviously. There is scope for a really nice walking trail through the woodland area and perhaps up the other boundary of the site, a boardwalk or something, but all of that needs to be planned. We hope to get into that process later this year. We did get another good idea, and I have to credit one of my colleagues with this. And we did think, look, maybe we need to start raising awareness here, especially with very young children, because they're going to be the guardians of our peatlands going forward. So we were very fortunate. We got a beautiful little storybook. Actually, it's an illustrated children's storybook. There's a lady living close to us in Mullingar, Dolores Keaveney, and she writes children's books. So we kind of set her a challenge. Could you write us a story about lions and bogs? And she kind of said, maybe. So she said, leave it with me. But a couple of weeks later, she rang us and she said, I just got a really nice idea of a story. And she wrote it out for us and she illustrated it. So over the course of last summer, we got 2,000. We got the book fully published, 2,000 copies. We got funding assistance through Offaly County Council and Creative Ireland. And the first thing we did was we donated over 1,000 copies to every primary school in County Offaly. And then we sold some of the remaining copies over the Christmas period through bookshops locally to make up the gap. We also got a second print run done this year, and we were selling it at the Ploughing Championships recently and at Bloom as well. I have some here with me if anybody would like one. Please come up to me afterwards. But again, we saw that as an important first step, maybe in helping to bring our younger children on board. But we didn't rest on our laurels, and in November of last year, Shirley Clerkin from Toker Wetlands Restoration came to visit, and as some of you are probably aware, it's an EU and Government of Ireland funded programme. So she was quite impressed with what we had done, and she said, could we set up a meeting with the national environment team in Lions Clubs of Ireland, which we did in January. And at that, they offered us like a partnership for Lions Clubs in the region, that they would fund 100% any wetland related projects that we wanted to start. So that was, for us, that was like an amazing offer. And we've been working since. We launched the partnership at our national convention in March. We already have 2 other clubs up and running. Portlaoise and Borough Lions Clubs have started their own projects. We ourselves are very close to agreeing with another landowner of a much larger site, about 90 hectares, closer to Tullamore. We're hoping to get that signed off in the next number of weeks. And what we see is here's an opportunity for us as Lions clubs collectively maybe to take what we've proven we can do in Clonbale and deliver those kind of benefits on a much larger scale. We are actually doing a few additional, we went back to Clonbale, or George Smith was back in June, and there are some supplementary works needed there, just a couple of weirs where some of the bunds are under pressure from the amount of water that's gathered. There was one drain that was hidden by rhododendron last year in the initial survey. We were going to block that. And there is some rhododendron has reappeared, as it tends to, I believe, and we're going to get that removed as well. So we have some ongoing work that Tócar have funded for us this year as well. We also, even though it's not open to the public yet, and hopefully that will happen down the line, but we have had some visitors to the site throughout the year. Tócar themselves had a group from Finland in March, researchers from a university in central Finland. And then we had a group with the Community Wetlands Forum. We were very happy to host them as well. That was in May. And I myself am just taking part in the An Taisce Climate Ambassador Programme this year. So I organised a day in July for other climate ambassadors. So that's the kind of, at the moment, that's the way we're doing this. Just kind of we're bringing groups in, and then hopefully down the line we will manage to get it open to the public. So before I finish, there are some QR codes there. We did manage to get some promotional videos of the project, again funded by Offaly County Council, and they're up on our YouTube site. And I've also put up some stuff I've done myself, some drone footage showing the progress as the project was happening and how the surface has changed. We have a lot of people to thank: National Parks and Wildlife, the Offaly County Council, the department, obviously the people like George, our ecologist, who has been with us from the very beginning, and RPS, Gorman Earthworks, our contractor, so the landowner. So again, Tócar, we have just, I suppose our experience has been that starting out not really knowing how it was going to go, but it was almost like every door we came to opened easily for us. A lot of help. Maybe it was beginner's luck, we're not sure. But it has been a very positive experience, and that's what we're trying to reinforce to some of our colleagues in other clubs now, that there is lots of help. We have a template now of what needs to be done, and we're hoping to have a good few more on over the next number of months starting their projects. So thank you.
Well done. The Lions clubs throughout the country. How many Lions clubs?
So there's 90
90
in the country. Yeah, there's about 20 in the Just Transition region.
Yeah.
And they're the ones who can benefit from the full 100% funding, through Tócar,
So again, the model is approaching landowners who probably have land that don't realise the value of, I suppose, and getting hold of that and restoring it.
Yeah. So they're our target group, really. It's just those landowners with tracts of peatland that have just lain idle for years and they're not doing anything with them. So just trying to encourage them to collaborate.
It's a bit like, I think I mentioned to you, Jane, the Heritage of Ireland had this adopt a monument thing. I don't know whether that was just in Ireland or where it was, but it'd be brilliant if we had the same here, adopt a bog, which is basically what you're heading towards.
Can I just ask you a little bit about the ownership? So is it still in private ownership?
Yeah.
And it will still remain within there? So what was the were the contractual sort of arrangements between you and the owner?
So one of the conditions of the funding was we had to put a lease in place. So we've done that. Now, it didn't need to be for that long. We've leased it for 5 years, and then it'll just revert back to the landowner. So that's what we've done for that one. We took, there's a kind of fairly standard template for leasing farmland in Ireland that the Irish Farmers Association have, and we just took that and readapted it, and the landowner was quite happy, and they got their solicitor to sign off on it, and it was relatively easy. The bigger problem was insurance. I think in common with a lot of people, we had to get public liability insurance, which was expensive, more expensive probably than it should have been, but that's, I think, just something we had to, again, as one of the conditions of the funding was we had to have it in place for 18 months. So we're into our second year of that.
Any more questions?
Thanks, Michael. Very interesting presentation. I just wonder about Within the Lions Club itself, you do so many different things and so many great causes, and you've obviously got limited resources, relying on volunteers, time.
Yeah.
And how do you balance the amount of time, effort, energy that goes into this versus trying to keep everything else, your hospice, your children's work, your etc.? And is there any tension there, or has it been brought
Not really. I
forward?
suppose I can speak to my own club. So yeah, we kind of work on it. We have various committees. So I kind of lead the sustainability and environment committee in our club. So probably, and I was, in fairness, I was a relatively new member, and so once I kind of got, well, 2 or 3 of us were working together, and we went down to visit Shannon Club. But once the idea was floated, I was kind of, yeah, well, that's a great idea, Michael, off you go. So I've kind of, I suppose I've been the main person in the club. Some of my other colleagues lead other committees, around the hospice fundraising or whatever. But I have 3 or 4 people in the club who help me. So anytime I need help, like for everything, with creating the lease document or with fundraising or whatever, there's plenty of help there. But I'm probably, the way it's worked for us is I'm probably the lead guy in the club, and it's probably, I assume it's the best way to do it, because somebody needs to kind of have ownership. And as it turns out, my background was kind of tender, working on tender management and stuff like that. So I had filling out the application forms or applying for the funding wasn't a huge challenge for me personally. So, but that's just the way it's worked for us. Now, other clubs, I take your point, because some of the clubs I've been speaking to are a little bit frightened by it. I'm trying to convince them that it's not, because we have the template now, we can kind of point them in the right direction. They don't have to reinvent the wheel. But I can see, all right, where people who have no, I suppose, experience maybe feel it's a huge challenge, and they're kind of afraid to take it on. But we're working on that, trying to convince them that the help is there. Our experience has been very positive, and hopefully that will. We have 2 more already, as I said, started, and we have a couple more that we're kind of talking to over the next number of weeks.
One more question, anyone?
Hi, Deirdre McCann from Northern Ireland Environment Agency. I am just wondering, we wouldn't really have the same level of commitment from our community groups in the north with regards to this type of project. And it's lovely to hear your story and how it started and everything, but I'm just wondering, within your group itself, whenever you sort of said to people, look, I want to raise so much money to restore a bog, did you receive any conflict from within the group that maybe people would have said, look, we could use this money for much better things within our community? And how did you convince people to come along with you, or was it easy enough?
So as it turned out, so the fundraising that we do as a Lions Club, all of it goes to charitable causes. So the fundraising for this project had to be through. So we had to just use the schemes that were available, like the Peatland Community Engagement Scheme, like the Community Climate Action Fund. So all the funding that we've raised for this project has come from sources like that. And when we were short, like for example, when we had a challenge with the insurance, in fairness to the landowner, they stepped up, because we, as a charitable organisation, we didn't see it appropriate to be raising money and then spending it on paying insurance premiums. So, that's the reality of what happened there. So our landowner was willing to help us in that regard, but the rest of the funding was all raised through, schemes like, yeah.
Brilliant, thank you,
Okay.
Michael.